this effect can be achieved with only black and white. So let's paint a gray circle. I'm putting the shadow kind of on the bottom right. It's just a gray ball right now, that's all it is. Trying to make it real smooth so that it doesn't accidentally look metallic already. There, I have a gray ball. So in order to convert this to a metallic texture, I only need to do a couple of things. I need to raise the contrast, and I need to add unexpected gradients that are out of order with the main light and shadow. So the larger light and shadow are light on the top left, shadow on the bottom right. If I make gradients inside each one of these without completely destroying them, then I can put those gradients in unexpected places. So let me show you what I mean. I'll simply put a white spot right there, and then I'll take a black spot and I'll blend it in right here. That's what's unexpected, because this is a dark on my light side, it's a light on my dark side. Unexpected gradients tell us that there's something other than just the light and shadow causing the values, which would be reflection. And so let's blend these, let's blend them in. They can't just be those brush strokes like that. We're gonna blend them in, and this one thing will make this look more metallic. And I'm gonna use the distortion that a circle usually has. If something reflects on a circle, it'll get squished around the edges. So if I've got this black near the edge, maybe I won't make it like a real big circle shape. Maybe I will squish it. Okay, I still have my main light and shadow, but I added some unexpected gradients and it becomes more metallic. Now, I don't have to stop here, but that is the answer you're looking for. That's it, the unexpected gradients within the light and shadow. But there's a lot more cool enhancement that can be done that I want to show you. So let's keep going with taking this blurred environment, because that's what it is. A reflection is an environment, and when a surface is rough, non-metallic, or let me phrase it this way. When a surface is rough, it blurs the edges. And when it's non-metallic, it lowers the contrast. So being metallic makes it more reflectant, I think is the word, which will raise the contrast. But we're not only going to raise the contrast, we're going to sharpen the edges to make the surface smoother. So we're doing two things. We're unscrambling the blurred environment by sharpening the edges, and we are, and that is simultaneously making the surface smoother. And then the other thing we're doing is raising the contrast to make it more reflectant, reflecting the true values of the environment rather than scrunching the contrast to the color of the object. Okay, so sharper edge right here, and higher contrast. I'm going to leave it a darker color. I'm going to leave that gradient in there. You know, that could be anything. We don't know what it's reflecting, and it doesn't matter. The effect doesn't come from being able to decipher what's being reflected. Okay, and then let's put some higher contrast here with some pure white. I don't know where there might be light reflecting. It could be anywhere. There we go. There's our silver ball. Now we could run with this, and we could put real dark, contrasty reflections in there, because any kind of object might be reflecting in this, and it takes a whole environment and scrunches it into a small space. So, you know, think about how many objects in a room have a dark shadow and a bright spot on them as well. So whatever I put in here, you know, it just doesn't matter too much. This criteria. Unexpected gradients tell us it's reflection. Sharp edges tell us it's smooth. High contrast tells us it's metallic or highly reflectant. Now it also helps if you have some understanding about what reflections do on curved surfaces. And so the scrunching along the edges, that's really, I'm not getting too scientific about it. I'm just making very scrunched shapes. The closer my values get to the edge of my circle, the more scrunched I make the shape. So this just has a feel of being more of a sphere-shaped object. Now that we have this to look at, imagine taking it in reverse, and we would take, the location of all these bright spots will just average to a brighter upper left half, and the average location of the dark spots they'll just all blur together to the lower right half to give us that initial look of our gray ball. We don't see those sharp edges of a smooth surface, and then of course lowering the contrast causes it to be less reflectant. Okay, now the next level here is to take any object that you already know how to paint and add that metallic effect to it using those same rules that created the metallic reflective ball. There's an important distinction that is helpful in this process. Our process is really just to unblur the form shadows. That's what we did in the reflective ball. We had it shaded, the light, the dark, it was blurry. We sharpened the edges. It's like we unblurred it. But it's helpful to understand the difference between the form shadows, which are what I used to create this quick three-dimensional form, and the cast shadows. The cast shadows are projected on the image from one location in the environment. So I put cast shadows in this just so I could point to them and get rid of them, because we don't need them for this look. We don't use those to create the reflection. So this is a cast shadow of the hair coming down the face. This is a cast shadow of the head coming down on the shoulder right here. I just put it in there so I could point to it. And then we have a cast shadow of the nose. See, I put a shadow under the nose here. Now, the way I understand the difference between the form shadow and the cast shadow is that the form shadow is created by the light that comes from outside, all directions that are available in the space. So in this room, I have light bouncing off that wall, that wall, that wall, the floor, the ceiling. It's coming from all around. And the areas on my face that are the most exposed to those lights are the brightest. And so imagine yourself being a tiny bug that is going up the nose hole of this character. As you gradually come out of that hole, things start getting brighter. You begin to see more lights. You have access to more lights. So the bright to dark is a gradual process. It's a gradient. So all over my image, I have gradients that go from darker to lighter depending on how far out into the room light. The ambient light is a common word for that. The light that is all around, coming from many directions. The difference between that light and the light that causes the cast shadow is the cast shadow comes from one location. We only need to block light from one location. We're not blocking the light in the scene, we're blocking a light. See, that's a cast shadow on my painting, and it doesn't represent the environment. It's a very tiny percentage of this whole room. That's why we don't care about that cast shadow because it doesn't represent the environment. But the form shadows, on the other hand, the form shadows here, those are caused by the light coming off of the environment. And so we're converting that, we're using that to understand the likely values of the environment and sharpen the edges and focus it again as it's been blurred on our rough or non-shiny, non-reflectant surface. Okay, so let's begin. I'm going to essentially unblur the form shadows in order to create a believable reflection. So this right here might become, if this is an outdoor scene, this may become a small landscape where the gray lower part is the horizon going back in a grassy field or some trees, and then the sun might be seen in the sky that's showing up on this lighter area, because the form shadows show us the brightness of the objects that the surface is facing. So you can guess that my hand, the underside of my hand, is not facing bright objects, but dark objects. So if I convert my hand to a reflective metal surface, I don't know the right word for that, then I'll put reflections of dark objects there because the shadow's telling me there's probably dark objects. And then I'll throw in a few little light ones for those unexpected gradients. And then if my, on my face, just like in the picture, my forehead here, we can guess that it is facing toward some number of lighter objects. So we can just put a generally lighter area, but we're going to put gradients in there because in an environment we have all variations of light and dark. We'll just make it generally lighter. It shows us the brightness of the objects that it's facing. So our criteria is 3 things in order to get this look like it is metal. We want to raise the contrast in order to make it more reflectant. Reflective. Somebody tell me what's the appropriate word. That happens because we raise the contrast because that's more like the environment. That's the reason. We're suggesting that it is more unaltered, less altered from its original form, and less conformed to the colors of the figure, and more in its true, like a mirror. A mirror doesn't alter the lights and shadows, but a white piece of plastic that's that's smooth, for example, a whiteboard. It's very smooth. I can see a reflection in it, but you don't see contrast. The second thing we need is unexpected or out of order gradients and values within our greater light and shadow. So within my light forehead, I want to include some unexpected dark spots like objects are being reflected. And within the shadow, whatever landscape, horizon, objects are being reflected here, there's probably a few light objects in those darker areas being reflected. So I just throw in some light colors in the shadow, some dark colors in the light, and like magic, those unexpected gradients that are in those larger areas cause it to look more like a reflection. And then the third thing only changes the smoothness of the surface, and that is focusing the lines or sharpening the edges. It's as if it's been blurred and we're sharpening the edges again, getting rid of the gradients. We'll be adding other gradients in order to make the look of reflection, but we're going to create lots of sharp edges between the lights and shadows that exist. Those are the 3 criteria. That's it. That's what we did on the circle. That's what we're going to do on this. Contrast, unexpected gradients, and sharper edges. Okay, that's it. I think I've done enough. Thanks for watching. Now, if you have questions, you can always join my live classes. I would love to see you there. In the next video, I'll show you how to add color to this effect and do the metallic look in any color that you want. But there is specific criteria, some rules that will help you to get just what you're looking for. Just like I followed the 3 main points when I'm just working with the values, I'll follow some additional key points in order to get any color I want in a metallic finish. Okay, that's next time, and thanks for watching. We'll see you.